What's wrong?
I need another credit card
What for?
to charge all these credit card bills on. I can't pay them.
What? Are you serious?
My MasterCard is charged to my Visa, which is charged to my Amex, which is charged to my MasterCard again, which is charged to my Discover. What do I do?
You think you have it bad. I'm trying to pick a mortgage and buy a house.
Oh, how's that going for you?
Well, there's a 30-year fixed, 15-year adjustable, amortization, and debt ration. I don't know what any of it means.
You should do what I did and charge your house to a credit card.
How does that even work?
You guys both need some help.
Geez, guys, it looks like our friends are having some issues with their credit cards and mortgages.
It sounds like they can use a nudge.
Let's learn about some.
Well, before talking about that, we have to talk about choices in the public sphere. People make choices every day, and there are many choice architects in our society, both in the private sector and in the government, who are responsible for shaping how these choices are made. And how they do that is they determine what choices are available to those in our society. And as such, they're in charge of making the frameworks by which people make decisions on their education, their environment, and even their finances, as we'll see here. Which leads us into libertarian paternalism, which is a kind of a tool that choice architects have and a framework by which they can work. Libertarian paternalism, according to Thaler and Sunstein, is a relatively weak, soft, and non-intrusive type of paternalism because the choices are not blocked, fenced off, or significantly burdened. So how do we get to this phrase? Well, first there's paternalism, which is the practice of monitoring and controlling the conduct of a populace. Then there's libertarianism, which relates to the concepts of individual liberty and free will. You combine those together and you get libertarian paternalism, which is a system of governance in which citizens are free to make their own decisions, yet are still guided by an authority to make better decisions. Which finally leads us into what a nudge is. So according to Cass Sunstein in an article for Bloomberg, a nudge is an intervention that steers people in particular directions, but that fully preserves freedom of choice. So what are some examples of some nudges? Well, for one, the warnings on your food and tobacco products are a nudge. They're there to tell you that you might be in the middle of making a very bad choice for your health, but you get to choose whether to ignore that choice or ignore that warning or take it on and say, I'm not going to eat that. Another is your GPS system. It gives you directions for where you want to go, but it's up to you whether or not to follow those directions, turn left or turn right. Another example would be an incentive. A very popular incentive, well, it's very well talked about in the past several years, is Ohio's Vax-A-Million program, which encouraged Ohio residents to get the COVID-19 vaccine, a good choice for their health, by incentivizing them with the possibility of lottery winnings. Many people took the vaccine because of this Vax-A-Million program, although there is some dispute for that. Now, what would not be considered a nudge would be something restrictive and a punishment. For example, a fine, a tax, or a mandate, something that is forcing someone into making that choice through the possibility of a punishment. And there's kind of a chart that we have that really shows what a nudge is and isn't. So on the left side there, you got the feather of statistical insignificance. Essentially, that's when the government is telling you, oh, please don't make this choice, but there's really no encouragement or punishment at all. It really doesn't do anything. Now, on the far right side, you got the bad paternalistic overreach. Those are your fines and mandates. The government essentially forcing you into making that decision. You have no part in it. In the middle is the gentle tap of good sense. Now, that's a nudge. You know, the government is pushing you into making a decision that you should want to make, but it's still your decision to make. Which leads us into our problem that our friends have here.
For you all, you are interested in credit cards and mortgages, which are forms of borrowing and spending money. But first, we must talk about saving money. To save is to acknowledge your present bias, meaning we put undue weight on the present ahead of future outcomes. However, for mortgages and credit cards, we must practice money lending, which has made spending money more accessible and individuals are borrowing more to spend today. The best examples of modern borrowing are mortgages and credit cards. However, the factors that go into this are choosing and using. Choosing is very important for mortgages, while using is more important about credit cards. We are going to learn about this more soon.
So the first part that we have to talk about are credit cards. Credit cards serve two functions. They provide a mode of payment in lieu of cash, and they provide a ready source of liquidity if you want to spend more than you currently have in cash. People with credit cards are willing to pay twice as much if they have a credit card on them, according to a study. The Credit Card Accountability, Responsibility, and Disclosure Act, abbreviated CARD, was enacted and passed in 2009 for purposes related to protecting humans from risks and costs, including over-the-limit fees and late fees. Credit card statements have to offer clear information about the consequences of making only minimum payments for lengthy periods of time. We can and should use the tools of libertarian paternalism to offer consumers more help in making good decisions with credit cards. It is suggested that credit card companies be required to post all their rules and fees in an online database, much like the mortgage file, which would enable choice engines to help people make better decisions. The most important thing to know and do when using credit cards is to pay at least the minimum balance, then pay the card with the highest interest rate if you have multiple cards. One way to do this is to set up an auto pay from your bank to the credit card. However, only 15% of cardholders do this.
The second form we will be discussing is mortgages. Mortgages vary with the type of loan and fees that are associated with each one. Due to shoppers not having perfect knowledge and information, there has been increased amount of debt for homeowners. It is important to consider which mortgage you are choosing because you will be stuck with this plan for up to 30 years. Some possible nudges to reduce the amount of debt for homeowners and make sure they are choosing a right mortgage include requiring lenders to add up any additional costs and put those additional costs on the stated quote of a loan. Additionally, we can regulate mortgage lenders by requiring only a small amount of mortgage types available, and with these limited options result in simpler choices for consumers. Finally, with current mortgage issues is that there is a very small online database. Expanding this database with more fine print will give updated information to consumers and better access overall. Thank you for listening to us today, and we hope that you have learned plenty of information overall.
We hope you guys learned a lot today, and we're going to hand it back over to the vignette team.
Let's take a look at how our friends are doing right now.
Look at this. I have one credit card now and I'm working to pay off my debt.
That's great. Look at my new house.
Great job, guys.